live streamed on the Township of Wyckoff's YouTube channel. The work session is scheduled for 7:30 and the public meeting, business meeting will begin at 8 p.m. These measures are implemented to allow members of the public to observe the meeting via live streaming and to provide the ability to comment during the periods for public comment during the meeting through Zoom telephone call-in technology. Joining the meeting by telephone will be utilized as security against the sharing of inappropriate content. General instructions regarding access to the meeting is posted on the Wyckoff website homepage at www.wyckoff-nj.com as a news item. All applications are hereby reminded that your application, if approved, may be subject to the terms, conditions, and payment of the Affordable Housing Development Fee requirements of the Township. Information can be obtained from the code of the Township of Wyckoff, Chapter 113-8, on the Township's website, www.wyckoff-nj.com. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Ms. Mitchell, roll call, please.
Mr. Tanis.
Here.
Mr. Kalpagian.
Here.
Mr. Hubert.
Present.
Ms. Riato.
Here.
Mr. Rubenacker.
Here.
Mr. Christ.
Here.
Ms. Rizvani.
Here.
Mr. Borst. Chairman Fry.
Here. All right, good evening, everyone.
Hey, Carl.
Hey, Carl.
Hope everyone's doing well, managing. Sounds like things are getting a little bit better. Report locally, COVID cases seem to have dropped pretty significantly, which is always good to hear. It sounds like things are moving, the vaccines are moving. So I asked Ms. Mitchell if there was any talk around town hall, if we'll be looking to schedule in-person meetings again. Nothing on the docket yet, but I'm sure as soon as we can, we'll probably have that discussion and then make a decision if we're going to. So no news yet, but I'll let everyone know if that comes up.
You mean our service on the zoning board doesn't, push us to the front of the line for the vaccine?
So no tax break, nothing else. So the answer is no, I guess.
No, and no to everything else, right?
Yeah.
No overtime.
No overtime. Yep. Out of the goodness of our hearts, and we do a fine job.
You
I'm sticking with
do.
that.
You do.
Okay, old business. So we have the approval of the January 21st work session and public meeting minutes. I did go through the minutes. The only comment that I do have is on the last page. This is under the Brower application. I had recused myself from it.
Did
So
I
the,
not take you out of there?
yeah, the second to last paragraph there. I did not vote, so just strike my name from that. I believe Mr. Christ, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
voted.
Where are we? The last page?
Page 7, second paragraph from the bottom,
Got
the very
it.
last line.
Got it. Okay. Fry is out. Christ is in.
Fry is out. All right, board, any other comments?
It's just one
Errors? Go ahead.
one other minor, very, very small correction. Page
It better
two.
not be like a period or a comma.
No.
I can take it.
Page 2, item 3, about five lines down.
Of the work session or the public?
The work session.
Okay.
The officers, Mr. Borst, it was vice chairman, not chairman. Very minor, like I said.
Wait, where is this? Number 3?
Number 3, 5 lines down.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Well,
Yep.
Mark,
as vice chairman.
right. Mark paid me to leave it that way, so.
He wanted some of the chairman's benefits that Mr. Fry is getting. That's all.
He can have them if you like them.
Thank you. I will make those corrections.
Okay. Look at this. People are paying attention.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm impressed.
Those two comments, board, anything else? Okay, if not, I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes from the work and public session from the January 21st meeting as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Kalpagian, second by Mr. Hubert.
Mr. Hubert, thank you. Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riato,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenacker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. Okay. Next item, resolutions for payment number 21-02. I'll just go through them quick. Item number 1, Township Engineer Review. The Brower application, 375 Butternut Ave, $376.75. Michaela application, 191 Henry Place, $171.25. Nickel application, 123 Midland Ave, $68.50. And the Hildebrandt application, 370 Oakwood Drive, $171.25. Item 2, return of escrow, the Travers application, 165 Greenhaven Road, $285.51. Number 3, professional services resolutions, Brower application, 375 Butternut Ave, $300. Michaela application, 191 Henry Place, $300. Nickel application, 123 Midland Ave, $400.
Right.
And the Hildebrandt application, 371 Oakwood Drive, $400. Board, can I have a motion to approve resolution 21-02?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Rubenacker, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Tanis.
Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riato,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenacker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. Okay, resolutions to be memorialized. We have 4. Michaela application, 191 Henry Place, Hildebrandt application, 371 Oakwood Drive, Nickel application, 123 Midland Ave, and the Brower application, 375 Butternut Ave. Board, you've had a chance to go through the resolutions. I did not notice any glaring errors or omissions, but by all means, if someone did, please present them now.
Just quick question for David. I think it was Hildebrandt, there was going to be a deed restriction, but is that contingent upon just the permits being pulled? Has nothing to do with memorialization of the resolution?
That's correct. I mean, that's part of their condition. They're going to have to do that before they get the permit. You're absolutely right.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Thank you. All right, Board, if there are no errors or omissions or changes to be made to the resolutions, I'll entertain a motion to accept all 4 resolutions.
Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. Since you have to recuse on one of the resolutions, should we vote on the 3 and then the 1?
That's correct.
Okay,
I mean, you
All
can
right,
do
so
all
we'll-
of them separately, but there's no reason not to do the 3 and then vote on that other one separately.
okay. All right, so we'll do the first 3, which will be Nickel application, Michaela, and Hildebrandt.
I'll make a motion to approve those 3.
That was Mr. Rubenacker.
Correct.
I'll second.
Second was
Mr. Kalpagian.
Mr. Kalpagian. Thank you.
Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riato,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenacker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. Okay.
And then Brower,
Same thing. I'll make a motion to approve Brower.
All right, motion by Mr. Rubenacker. Second.
That's it. I'll
Second.
second it.
Mr. Hubert,
Mr. Hubert. Yep.
Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riato,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenacker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Ms. Rizvani.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'll sign these and try to swing by, drop them off at town hall.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so for tonight, we have 3 applications. One was carried from the previous meeting. So we have the Quiroga application, which is 469 Cedar Hill Ave. Then 2 new applications, urban application 239 Cottage Place, and the Messina application 191 Hillside Ave. Okay, so why don't we start off with the Quiroga application? Mr. DeGennaro, do you want to go over some notes as to the changes?
Sure. So 469 Cedar Hill Ave, I followed along with last month's meeting. And the board had some recommendations. In essence, the board was concerned with the principal building side yard setback, which was previously at 16.2 feet. They have revised their plan and pulled that in to that outside porch to a distance of 20.1 feet. That as a result also reduced the principal building lot coverage from 12.87% down to 12.74%, as well as the combined lot coverage went from 1606 to 1594. They also pulled the patio back away from the property line, which the board was concerned about encroaching into the property line. And they have seemed to have addressed all of those issues. The applicant also reduced the size of the rear yard patio, as well as increasing the sideline setback to the patio. So it looks like the patio now is quite a distance away, about, I would say 10 feet. It's not dimensioned on the plan, but it's about 10 feet away from the property line. And it's still a functional patio for the pool and the outdoor kitchen.
That patio where it's shown now is it's compliant. The issue was it was part of the pool, so to speak, structure, right, or contiguous with the pool previously. So
Well,
it's
the pool is 17.6 feet off the line where you need 15 feet. Then the patio kind of swings toward the house. The patio is really not around the pool on that one side. It's more of a off the back porch. And it is at, what's the scale here? The pool is about 12 and a half feet off the nearest property line. Where that inflection point is on the property line, it's 12 and a half feet there at the radius.
so they're okay there.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
And then they removed a lot of that paver patio. It wrapped all the way around that porch to the side by those steps.
Right, that's, I was just gonna say the same thing. It looks like the back porch stayed the same approximately. You know, we can have the applicant testify, but I agree with you, the paver patio that wrapped around is completely gone.
Right.
Looks like it's all grass now.
They also made the patio a little smaller, the back deck. I mean, that's what it looks like in the photo.
Yeah, so the back, the covered patio
They
was
did-
16.2 previously. So they reconfigured that and pulled that back to 20.1. Eliminated the pavers that went around that little peninsula that jetted out, that tied into the steps leading off of that covered patio, or covered porch, covered patio. So that they pulled that whole porch in.
Mhm.
And then they reduced the, we had a comment also about the second floor. They had a large balcony. And they pulled that second floor balcony back to 27.1 feet. So it looks like they hit all the comments that I had. The only other one I had was I have a note here, revised landscape plan.
Yeah, match the plans. I have that on my notes too.
But I didn't see a revised landscape plan.
I was gonna ask if maybe I missed it. It wasn't in my packet. I didn't see one.
All right, so we'll get some testimony from the applicant. Outside of that, it looks like they addressed all the comments that we had. Board, any comments? Okay. Okay. The next application we have is the urban application, 239 Cottage Place, block 461, lot 13. Mr. DeGenero, if you'd go through your notes, please.
Sure. So 239 Cottage Road, it's a single family in the RA 25 zone. It is currently non-conforming due to lot width, front yard setback, accessory structure lot coverage, and impervious coverage. The applicant's proposing to completely remove the existing structures and reconstruct a new single-family home on the property. The applicant seeking relief to construct upon an existing non-conforming lot in the zone. Except for the bulk lot deficiencies, the proposed structure conforms to current code setbacks and coverage. The property is currently served by septic. However, the applicant has obtained approvals to construct a new 4-bedroom septic on the property. Stormwater management plan review has been prepared and satisfies the township code. The lot size is 25,498 square feet, where 25,000 square feet is required. The frontage is, or the lot width is 119.8 feet, where a minimum of 125 is required. Depth is compliant in excess of 150. Front yard setback existing is at 39.5 feet. Proposed structure is at 40.3, where 40 feet is required in the zone. The principal building side yard setback is an enhanced side yard setback, so it goes to 25 feet each side. The proposed structure is at 25.5 and 28.2. Principal building rear yard setback is 131.6 feet. Currently existing, proposed is going to be 92.6 feet. Required in the zone is 40 feet. Existing principal building lot coverage is at 6.5%. The proposed principal building goes to 14.9%, where a maximum permitted is 15%. The existing accessory structure lot coverage is at 26.7%, predominantly because of the tennis court is considered an accessory structure. The proposed accessory goes to 0. So the combined lot coverage under existing conditions is at 33.2%, but the proposed combined is at 14.9, where 20% is permitted. The proposed principal building height is at 32.6 feet, where a maximum of 35 feet is permitted. And the impervious lot coverage is now going to be compliant under the 28.5%. Whereas previously it far exceeded. So proposed at 24%. Again, a new 4-bedroom septic has been designed, submitted for review and approved by my office.
All right, so this is a complete tear down and the rebuild, which it's not all that often we get it, but it's almost 100% conforming. So the only non-conformity that we have is the frontage, which the lot I see does taper slightly. So 125 is required. They're at 119.8. Outside of that, they're building the home so that it's conforming. So And they're actually making some improvements by eliminating the accessory structure and the impervious coverage. So there are a couple of variances that they had previously that they're removing. It is a big home. They did make it fit. It doesn't fit by much. But there were some questions. So I know we had some dialogue. There was a memo that went out. One of the neighbors had some questions. And rightfully so, we want to give everyone the opportunity. And I thought, in fairness, just to distribute that to all the board members so we could take a look at the questions, see what the concerns were, and then pass it over to the applicant as well so they can be prepared to address these. So I don't want to do a line by line and go through this, but when we get into the public session, we'll allow the applicant to discuss, and hopefully they've had time to review it. Ms. Mitchell, we were able to get this to the applicant as well, correct?
Yes, the applicants and their professionals.
Great. Okay. So we'll let them speak to these points, and then we'll get through it. But I thought it was only it was the wise thing to do. That way we can kind of streamline it and maybe be able to answer these right off the bat. Outside of that, so again, it's kind of unique. Board, do we have any comments?
Comment on just getting testimony from the applicant on, this is a true knockdown. Are they ripping out the foundation, the basement? I mean, just want to understand that, just to get a clear understanding of that, because in the past, we've had situations where people said they weren't knockdowns, and they are. This, as you said, Mr. Chairman, that this is truly probably looks like a real knockdown in the vernacular we use. The only other thing is the question on the 4 trees on the right side to the front, which are going to be removed. Are there things going in kind to replace those 4? They are mature. I know on that side, right side, there's a lot of screenage from, I guess, the property owner that basically raised some of these issues or questions or concerns. So just some testimony on that.
Sure. It looks like that's where the proposed driveway is going.
Yep.
So
That's
it'll be
where the trees
interesting
are
to hear
coming
what
down,
they
looks
say. It's hugging, which is probably a couple of the questions that are in that memo. So we'll get to those points certainly.
Mhm.
All right. Anything else, board?
Yeah, just one thing, and maybe I missed it, so that's why I'm shuffling through papers here. I didn't see a
Landscape plan?
landscape plan with this application. Was there one?
Yeah,
I don't think there's a landscape plan. It's noted. I think it might be on the engineering drawings. I believe there are plants called out on it.
Oh, okay, yep, then I may have missed it. Let me check it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little plant schedule. I wouldn't say it's extensive, but it's present.
Yeah, and if I recall from driving by this morning, along the left and right property lines, I believe there's already pre-existing evergreens. And yeah, I would like to see some additional foundation plantings around the side and the back if we're going to do a full tear down. So, I doubt that the homeowner is going to want grass right up to the foundation.
Agreed. All right, so when we get into the engineering plan, which also has the landscape plan, we can ask some questions about that.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, let's move on. The third application we have is Messina, 191 Hillside Ave, block 354, lot 15. Mr. DeGennaro? There we are.
So 191 Hillside Avenue, single-family home in the RA 25 zone, and has existing non-conforming conditions due to deficiencies in lot size, frontage, depth, and principal building lot coverage. The applicant's proposing to add a single-story addition to the kitchen to the rear, requiring variance relief for rear yard setback and principal building lot coverage. Existing lot is 10,200 square feet in a zone that requires 25,000. The frontage is 85 feet in the zone that requires 125. The depth of the lot is 120 in the zone that requires 150. The front yard setback is at 40 feet and remains unchanged and compliant. Principal building side yard setbacks are both 20 foot each side. Required is 20 foot each side, so they're compliant. The principal building rear yard setback proposed is at 31.92 feet, where 40 feet is required. The existing principal building lot coverage is 16.25%. Maximum permitted in the zone is 15%. And the proposed principal building will increase to 17.15%. There are no accessory structures on the property. The combined coverage therefore proposed is at 17.15% compliant. And the proposed addition is approximately 18 feet in height, where max permitted is 35 feet. Impervious coverage is at 31%, which is less than the 44% max permitted. And the application does not qualify for stormwater management, and it is served by sanitary sewer.
Okay, so this is a small bump out off the back of the house. Looks like just to get like a sitting area for the kitchen. There was a previous application on this house, 2005. They received a variance, I guess a builder at the time, to build this. Rather uncharacteristic, only 10,200 square feet in an RA 25, but they were able to do it. So because of that, it certainly creates a hardship. So in looking at it, since it's rear, it's single story. I think it's about 8 feet and change, maybe coming off the back of the house. It's certainly not a large addition or an eyesore, and there's tremendous screening across the back. It is amazing how shallow that is in the back, though. My only comment, again, I'd be interested if any of the neighbors would have any concerns. But this one being so unique, I was looking at the square footage, and if the dwelling unit square footage is 3361, and my only question is, and I hope we get the right answer, as far as what they counted in that number versus what would go into the gross building area calculation. And not that it makes much of a difference on the application, but the application would be viewed a little differently if they do exceed the gross building area square footage. So I think the only difference would be typically you might not count the garage in your square footage, but you would count the garage in the gross building area. So based on the layout of the house, the first floor is shown to be 705 square feet. The second floor is 1656. So if it's one right over the other, I'm hoping that 1705 does take into consideration the garage, and then the total that would meet for the gross building area would also be that same number or close to it. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. I'm hoping that's correct, and this does not exceed, because the garage in scaling, it's about 25 feet wide by probably 20 feet deep. So you're adding 500 square feet, which would then exceed the 3,700 square feet. So I just want to get some testimony on that, just so we know that we're looking at this application and there are no other boxes that we would have to check when we make our determination. That's the only real comment I have. Again, nothing too major. It's very simple, and I understand what they're looking to do. We can get some testimony maybe from 2005, how the kitchen does not meet today's standards. It's not that old, but I'm sure they'll explain what they're looking to do and why. Board, any comments? Not everybody wants. Hold on. Okay, nobody? All right. Terrific.
Like you said, Carl, it's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. Okay.
Actually, one more question, quick.
Oh, no.
Sorry, and that's for Mark. It looks like, Mark, I'm looking at the proposed site plan and that patio, and it looks like a fire pit. There's no, does that fit any, is there any rear setbacks required there? And I don't think there is there?
For a fire pit?
Yeah, or for the
Yeah.
patio?
Yeah.
Remember we
I was
had that
looking
on
at
the
that too.
McHugh application?
Mr. DeGenero, but by the way, every time I look up, that scene reminds me of the Birds for some reason, the old movie. Maybe I'm dating myself.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah.
Yep. There's only one though.
Yeah, I know.
More to come.
But the way you can tell by the cinematography there, it's like your face versus that, new versus old was kind of how they filmed the Birds. It was kind of strange at times.
That's right. No, this is a patio with a fire pit. That's not an issue. We've never addressed it as being an issue. We try to keep them away from the property lines. If they're too close, we try to hold at least 15 feet. In this case, it's the fire pit's 20 feet to the rear yard and the 25 feet to the side yard.
Yeah, I remember it being an issue on that McHugh application. I couldn't remember if that was from a variance perspective or just from a neighbor perspective. And I think
Yeah, that was
neighbor.
because there was a pool.
I think it was a neighbor.
That was because there was a pool going in and the patio was part of the pool and it was a neighbor concern. Yep.
Very good. Thank
There was
you.
a lot going on that site.
Thank you.
Good memory though.
Thank you. Okay, board, any other questions? Okay, very good. Okay, so those are the three that we have for tonight. So that being said, I want to entertain a motion to close the work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. All right, do we need to take a recess or can we move right on?
Can we take 2 minutes? Do you mind?
We're good? Okay.
Can we take 2 minutes, Carl?
Oh, yeah, sure.
All right.
All right, we'll take 5 minutes.
All right, thanks, Carl.
You got it.
Everybody mute.
Guys, you want to come in? They're going to start. And in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's the restroom?
Oh, there's one right there. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm saying you want to get this. Or no, yeah, it is. You. Mhm.
Hey, Dave. Have they started to open up courts yet?
Yeah, I mean, the short answer is yes, but it's still not like full blown.
Hmm.
You know, it's still kind of crazy in a way, but yes.
They must have tremendous backlog.
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest concern are all the criminal courts, you know, because there you have, constitutional considerations as well.
Right.
A lot of the civil too, they can do motions by, virtual like we're doing here. Criminal, that's a tough one to do.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't had any other, speaking to you, mentioned about zoning planning boards. All the other boards I attend have still been virtual. I haven't had a live board meeting since the shutdown. So I don't know of any towns. I've heard some that have tried to, but I haven't been a part of it. But I'm still, any town I've been going to is still virtual, even though some have tried to do it,
Right.
So.
We'll get there. It might still be a while.
Yeah, the problem really comes is that you want to do it, but if it's so hard restricted as to who can be in the room and all that, it almost makes it sometimes more difficult.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
right.
Harold's going incognito.
How's that?
Better.
It's about time.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with this. I got my first vaccine a week ago Monday.
Okay.
So I get my second one on March 9th, and then I'm ready to fly.
Good.
Hey, Maureen, just a note. I don't know if you saw in the chat, Robert Ishkanian
Uh-huh.
had mentioned that he doesn't think he's able to get heard. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, let me see. Okay. Let's see. Robert, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're fine. So,
Oh, I didn't know if it was appropriate or the time to speak. I was panicking.
no,
Couldn't get
no.
in.
I think I had explained to you that when we have the work session, the public
Yeah.
doesn't participate, but during
Right.
the public business meeting, when we go to the application that you're interested in, you will be given an opportunity to unmute yourself.
Great, because I had a problem. The passcode didn't seem to take that was given to me in the email.
Well, you're on,
Okay,
so
that's
it's
great.
working.
Thank you very much for all your help.
You're welcome.
Nobody got a call for that.
All right, let's rock this,
All
Carl.
right. Everybody's back? Okay.
Yep.
All right, the February 25th, 2021 public meeting of the Board, Wyckoff Board of Adjustment is now in session. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting appears on our annual schedule of meetings. A copy of said annual schedule has been posted on the bulletin board in Memorial Town Hall. A copy has been filed with the Township Clerk, the Record, the Ridgewood News, and the North Jersey Herald and News. All newspapers with general circulation throughout the Township of Wyckoff. At least 48 hours prior to this meeting, the agenda thereof was similarly posted, filed, and mailed to said newspapers. Township of Wykoff Open Public Meetings Act. Please take notice that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6, and in consideration of Executive Order Number 103 issued by Governor Murphy on March 9th, 2020, declaring a state of emergency in the state of New Jersey, the Zoning Board of the Township of Wykoff does hereby notify the public that to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens, the meeting of the Zoning Board of the Township of Wykoff scheduled for Thursday, February 25th, 2021 will be conducted virtually through Zoom technology, and it will be live streamed on the Township of Wykoff's YouTube channel. The work session is scheduled for 7:30 and the public business meeting will begin at 8 p.m. These measures are implemented to allow members of the public to observe the meeting via live streaming and to provide the ability to comment during the periods for public comment during the meeting through Zoom telephone call-in technology. Joining the meeting by telephone will be utilized as security against the sharing of inappropriate video content. General instructions regarding access to the meeting is posted on the Wykoff website's homepage, www.wykoff-nj.com, as a news item. All applicants are hereby reminded that your application, if approved, may be subject to the terms, conditions, and payment of the Affordable Housing Development Fee requirements of the township. Information can be obtained from the Code of the Township of Wykoff, Chapter 113-8, on the township's website, www.wykoff-nj.com. This meeting is a judicial proceeding. Any questions or comments must be limited to issues that are relevant to what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. Ms. Mitchell, roll call, please.
Mr. Tanis,
Here.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Here.
Mr. Hubert,
Present.
Ms. Riato,
Here.
Mr. Rubenacker,
Here.
Mr. Christ,
Here.
Ms. Rizvani,
Here.
Chairman Fry.
Here. Okay, if we can, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Mitchell, if you wouldn't mind putting up a flag, please.
Yes.
Mr. Rubenacker, if you would lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we went through the normal order of business, cleaned up the minutes from the previous meeting, the resolutions for payment 2102, and the resolutions to be memorialized. So we have three applications tonight. One is carried from the previous meeting. That's the Quiroga application, 469 Cedar Hill Ave. Then we have two new applications, the urban application, 239 Cottage Place, and the Messina application, 191 Hillside Ave. Okay, so we will start with the Quiroga application, 469 Cedar Hill Ave.
I just want to, Mr. Could just remind both the applicant, Mr. Quiroga, and the architect, Mr. Brown, they're under oath. They were sworn in last meeting. And I think we, or at least my record has that we, original submission was marked as A1. So the revised plan, architectural plan and revised Schedule J, I'll mark that as A2, if that's acceptable to you.
Acceptable to me, Mr. Becker. I don't know if it's addressed to me or the chairman.
I was addressing you, I'm sorry.
No, no,
Thank you.
no,
It's a little
that's fine.
confusing
Thank you.
at times.
Thank you. With that being said, I have Mr. Brown with me, and I'd like him to testify as to the revisions he made, which are reflected in A2. He attempted to incorporate all the concerns of the chairman and the board. So, Mr. Brown, if you could go through each change you made and let the board know the difference between A1 and A2.
I think the two main points on the Schedule J, Section J, is the side yard setback. We increased from 16.2 to 20.1 by reducing the size of the covered porch patio. We remove and then the lot coverage, our building coverage was reduced slightly. That went from, I think 12.87 to 12.74. And for the building coverage, the other main item was the patio was removed on the left side to the left of the septic tanks. And we also reduced the covered, the deck on the second floor that is partially existing. We made that 27.1 now, so where the enhanced setback is 25. So if we weren't in that enhanced setback, we'd be conforming. And we also, the pool equipment, we showed that on the site plan back behind the pool for a future permit for the pool and equipment. And those were the main items. The elevation stayed the same. If the board wants to look, A2, sheet A2 dated February 5th, 2021 is probably the sheet that shows the distance from the property line back to the proposed covered porch. And you can see that that's at 20.1. And the elevations didn't change because the hip roofs look the same. They've just moved back by 4 feet. So I think that's the 4 feet's a pretty significant amount, and I hope the board looks favorably on that modification.
So yeah, it looks like you addressed all the comments I had notes on. I don't recall if we had someone that spoke to the landscape plan. I did have a note about revising the landscape plan, only because the landscape plan is really what brought our attention to the pavers, the paver layout, and that whole configuration, I think.
I think there was just a issue. We did have a landscape plan. I don't know how, but
I don't think the issue was with the landscaping per se, the plantings and so forth. I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. It was with respect to with the pavers and so forth, how they went to the pool, and I think Mr. Brown addressed that with his site plan.
All right. Previously, the L1 that's dated November 20th, 20, I believe. Yeah. So that one, they were adding a significant amount of giant green arborvitae, and at the time, it was the pavers were wrapping around the peninsula area there, closer to the property line, and then hooked back around to meet the steps coming off that patio. And I know we were talking about putting paver steps in so we could break it up so it wasn't continuous. I think that was the only comment, because you do have significant plantings already on the property. Mr. Rubenacker, I don't know if there were any other comments that you noted. That's the only comment I had on my plan. You have to put a break in the patio, and then it was minimum 5-foot bed, because we kind of scaled that out. The paver question coming around, changing to stepping stones, and then the identification of what was the square box to the left of the pool, which looks like it's now identified on the plans.
We'll keep the landscape. Yeah.
The original landscape plan that was submitted with those proposed plantings will remain.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I think I'm good with that.
Yeah, I am too.
Okay. And I like the fact that you stepped in that second floor. I mean, that just had like big party written all over it. And if I'm a neighbor, I'm not going to be too happy about it myself. So thank you. Thank you for addressing the comments. You did a nice job.
Thank you.
Board, any questions?
Just one minor, just
Brown,
one
go ahead.
thing on the cover sheet. The building coverage went from 4197 to 4156. And then when you look at the gross building area, you have 5171, which is the same number from last month's application. I think that has to be adjusted down.
Yeah, by a few. Yeah.
Just that handful of square footage, just so it's clean.
It's right on the section.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
whatever, it's minor, just for good order's
We'll
sake.
revise that. Schedule
Yeah.
J, the revised Schedule J has the correct.
That's fine. Yep, no worries.
Okay. Anything else? So revised Schedule J and the original landscape plan that was submitted remains the same, and that's what they're proposing.
So I just want to be clear what I'm taking my notes. So the zoning chart on the plan, the
The cover sheet has to
DDA
change,
doesn't
minor.
match the section J.
right? The gross building area has to change in the proposed section by, 20, 30 square feet, it's minor. But just
Okay.
match Schedule J.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Mitchell, you're okay with that? Good.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Anything else? Okay. Do we have anyone from the public that wants to speak on behalf of the Quiroga application, 469 Cedar Hill Ave?
No, we only have the one attendee for the Cottage Road application.
Got it. Okay. All right, then we'll close public comment. Okay, board, unless there are any final questions, I'll entertain a motion on the Quiroga application, 469 Cedar Hill Ave. Anyone?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the Quiroga application 469 Cedar Hill Ave, block 349, lot 70, with the updated zoning table on the plans.
All right, and just to note that the original landscape plan is what they are proposing. L1 dated November 20th, 2020.
And just to note, you are granting it with a variant, that side yard setback variance at 21.1.
Right, so that's at 20.1 feet.
16.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tanis. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Kalpagian. Ms. Mitchell?
Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes,
Ms. Riato,
Yes,
Mr. Rubenacker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. Okay,
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, everyone.
Good luck.
congratulations, Mr. Cook. Thank you. Thank you,
luck.
Mr. Brown.
be
Good
safe.
night.
You too. Okay, the next application is the urban application. 239 Cottage Place, block 461, lot 13. What do we have for that?
Do you want me to start speaking? I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're the homeowner, you're the Urbans?
Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't know I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I wasn't sure. We'll have to swear everyone in, but I do see Ms. Osterkorn is on, and oh, here she is. Okay,
And yeah, the architect that I've worked with, Chris Canzani.
and the architect as well. Okay, so we're going to have the board attorney swear everyone in.
So everyone that's going to testify tonight, if you can raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
And if we can, I'll start with the applicant themselves, and I'll go the engineer and then the architect. Just state your name for the record, spelling your last name, and for the professionals, just give your professional address, please.
Richard Urban, URBAN.
Thank you.
I'm Lauren Urban. I'm here too. URBAN.
Duplonsky?
Thank you, Harold.
I think the engineer is, Ms.
Thank-
Oscar Corn, can you
Hi.
go ahead, just state your name for the record, your professional address?
Sure. Kirsten Osterkorn, 22 Madison Heights, Wyckoff, 07481.
And is there anybody else that's testifying, Mr. Kanzani? You're on mute still.
Christopher Canzani, Canzani Associates Architects, 80 East Ridgewood Ave, Paramus, New Jersey, 07652.
Who's going to start testifying tonight? Because I'll have the professionals just put on their credentials before they go. Is the applicant going to introduce it, and then we'll go to one of the professionals? Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we go there?
All right. Yeah, thank you for considering the application. Just to give a brief background, this is my wife, Lauren. My name's Rich. We moved here 5.5 years ago from Midland Park. We were looking for better schools for the kids. We wanted very good schools for the kids. Love the area. Love the whole vibe of the town. All we're looking for is we're proposing a building. Everything's we made sure that it was all conforming. It was all compliant. There's no additional variances or anything like that. So that's the good news, I guess, for everyone. The bad news is it was on a non-conforming lot. So that's the reason, obviously, why we're here. And I have Kirsten Osterkorn to help and Christopher Canzani to help with any kind of questions that we have on the land or the design.
Did you just recently buy the house?
5.5 years. No, 5.5 years ago.
5.5 years.
Yeah.
And then-
Now we knew we were going to have to do work on it because we had the tennis court in the back at some point. So here we are now.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you probably heard me in the work session. So one of the neighbors did have some questions, and they were able to document it. So we felt we distribute it so at least everyone could see and maybe be prepared to answer some of the questions. If you want, that'll probably go on between your architect and the engineer. Will probably address the bulk of those comments. So really the short version of it is it's a complete tear down.
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
Okay.
And removing the tennis court, removing the tennis court in the backyard.
Right. And we commented on that. So that's an improvement because it was really hitting your accessory structure percentage. So you're making.
And it was an eyesore.
I went back. I played a little tennis while I was out there. It's a little rough.
Yeah. The divot, you gotta be careful of the divots and the pitches.
Not as rough as my tennis game, but it's pretty rough. The reason you are before us is because of the lot frontage, and the lot does have a minor taper to it. It looks like you are now proposing the house is not going to be square to the road. The house is going to be parallel to the property line, so to speak. So I think the front might end up being skewed a little bit as it looks, because the lot itself isn't perpendicular to the street. So that being said, there is a minor irregularity, but outside of that, everything else is conforming. Just to go on record and let everyone make sure everyone's aware that is the main reason. So that being said, they are before us, so we are certainly able to review and provide comments, any concerns or questions that we might have. So that being said, why don't we roll right into, unless the board members have any questions, we can roll right into your professionals. Board, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right. So whoever you want to have start first, we'll swear them in, and then we'll move on.
With the engineer, Kirsten Osterkorn.
She's been sworn in, but if you could just, for the record, Ms. Osterkorn, just provide your professional credentials so the board can make a determination as to your expertise.
We
Thank
can,
you.
we can skip that. She's been before the board plenty of times. We're familiar with her credentials. She's definitely qualified, as is Mr.
Okay.
Tanzani.
Okay, then the board accepts both of you experts.
Thank you. Nice to
welcome.
see everybody again.
You too.
I know in the work session, Mr. DeGennaro went over a little bit of the bulk requirements of the property, but to put everything on the record, we are at 239 Cottage Road, block 461, lot 13. The existing lot area is 25,498 square feet, where required is 25,000. The lot frontage requirement is 125, and we have the required lot frontage of 125 as well. As stated, we're here because of lot width, which is measured perpendicular or across the frontage of the building. So required is 125 and we're at 119.8. The lot has the required lot depth. We're over. Front yard setback, there is an existing nonconformity. It's 39.5 feet where required is 40 feet. The side yard setbacks conform under existing conditions, the rear yard, building height, lot coverage. There is an existing nonconformity with total coverage for building and accessory because of the tennis court, 33.2% where 20% is required. And overall max impervious coverage, there's an existing nonconformity, 40.8% where 28.5 is proposed. As explained by the Urbans, the plan is to take down the entire house. It's a total demolition, foundation, everything. They are also planning on relocating their septic system, which has been designed and approved by the township. And we are showing that location at the rear of the property. As part of this application as well, the tennis court and fencing will all be removed. So under proposed conditions where they're proposing a 2.5-story new dwelling, they are proposing to conform with all bulk requirements. Front yard setback is proposed at 40.3. Side yard setbacks, even with the garage facing drive, they are at 28.2. The rear yard setback is 92.6. Building heights 32.6, where 35 feet is required. When we get into coverages, required principal building is 15%. We're at 14.9. They do not have an accessory structure right now, so we're at 14.9 for total when 20% is allowed. And in terms of impervious coverage, the proposed is 24%, where 28.5 is was allowed. With the reduction, with the removal of the the tennis court and the change in the driveways and the patios, we actually have a reduction in impervious coverage by approximately 4,300 square feet, which is shown on sheet 1 with the table chart that shows the existing versus proposed coverage. So overall, from a engineering and drainage perspective, the project overall is bettering the property. We are reducing coverage by a significant amount while still proposing a drainage system in the front yard to handle the entire roof area. I had spoken with Mr. DeGennaro just recently prior to this meeting, and we swapped out the system that we were proposing in the front yard. We had a very deep drainage structure before, and we're changing it out to a chamber system, which I had showed Mr. DeGennaro and gave him a plan today. But those are just minor details for the drainage. It is an equivalent system that is handling the entire roof area. So for the project overall, we're reducing coverage and handling the roof area. So it's a significant improvement to what is on the property today. Currently, the project is a front entry garage with the driveway about a third to halfway in the lot. The proposed project has a side entry garage with the driveway along the east side property line. The driveway, the way the house was set, it's not completely parallel to the front. It's parallel more to the side yards. So the driveway runs parallel to the side, to the east side property line as well. And the driveway setbacks at the far point of the garage, it's 2.8 feet. And as you head closer to the street, it gets further away from the property lines. It goes to 4.4 feet. And then it gradually comes back at the front property line. It's 3.2 feet from the neighboring property to the east. We are proposing a granite block curb driveway, and we were flaring the ends in to meet the edge of pavement on Cottage Road. The overall curb or driveway width entrance off of Cottage is 36 feet. That can be modified. We were providing something that we thought was a better entrance at a radius coming in versus the current driveway. It's a bit of a sharp turn when you come in when you're making a right into the driveway. So the way we had designed the driveway was it was running slightly parallel to the east property line, and then it came in more perpendicular to Cottage Road and then flared into the edge of pavement. Understanding from some of the comments from the neighbor that was looking at their projected property line and where the curbed entrance came in, that property where our curbed flared entrance is, it is the public right of way. It's not actually their property, but understanding where they were coming from, the driveway entrance can be modified slightly, if needed to accommodate or address their concern of their projected property line. We were trying to create more of a nice turning in and out of the driveway, but I did look at some other options that can slide it further away from the projected property line into the right of way. The width of the driveway coming in after the flared sections is 16 feet. So the main throat of the drive is 16 feet, and then it opens up to 26 feet. I know there was a question, it was looked at that it was thought it was 28 feet, but it's actually 26 feet for the backup area of the side entry garage. And the actual building setbacks at the rear side of the garage, 28.8 feet, and at the front side of the garage, 29.8 feet to the property line. We did provide landscaping along the front as required, foundation plantings and landscaping to buffer the AC units. As I understood in some comments from the work session, that given the existing trees and landscaping that does exist and what will be taken down for the proposed house, that possibly some more landscaping might be requested along the building. The owners are willing to add additional landscaping if requested to satisfy the changes of the buffering and current landscaping that exists today. We did discuss, or I mentioned earlier, so the entire backyard of the tennis court is going to be taken down, and the septic system is going to be moved to the northwest corner of the property. The rest of the property will end up being finished with grass, and it'll be a nicely landscaped yard and property. Similarly, the front yard, the way the paver driveway was and the walkways will be changed to a different paver and walkway to the front yard, and will be grassed where the paver driveway was previously, and then the new asphalt driveway on the side with the curbing. I'm just looking through some of the comments to see what I can address through my testimony from the one neighbor. With looking at the driveway on the east side of the property and the concern with the neighbor of proximity and the trees and greenery that was there before, part of what we looked at when we were designing the building was conforming with setbacks, and the Urbans working on their property and working with the land that they have to use. They weren't looking to exacerbate anything. We weren't asking for any variances. So even with the size of the dwelling, they did conform with side yard setbacks for side entry garages. And the intent of the ordinance and complying with driveway setbacks and all other aspects they do comply with. If there ends up being some questions and concerns with the neighbor or the board of anything to be doing along the driveway side, we'd be open to discussion regarding that. But it was just pointing out that we are working within the ordinance, and all the elements of the design were to comply with those requirements and not to try to exacerbate or ask for anything other than what the ordinance is requiring. And I think one of the last questions or comments to just talk about was drainage. It was asked about how the drainage runoff might be coming from the driveway to the street. Existing, the paver driveway does come there and the roof leaders go to different areas. My purpose and design for this was to make it better. So with the reduction in coverage and the proposed drainage system, we have the statement of there being zero increase in runoff to neighboring properties. And we're bettering the design of the property as a whole. So the minimal area in the driveway of water hitting it and running to the street is similar to what exists today. And they are proposing curbing. So the impact to the neighbors will be negligible because it's not going to run off to the neighbors. It's going to be contained in the curbed driveway and run to the public right of way, which is what it does today. I don't know if I think I don't have any other specific testimony unless there's questions.
No,
Carl,
I don't have any questions.
Carl, you're muted.
Thank you. So you hit the bullet points that I see on here. Maybe there are a couple for the architect as well, and maybe the homeowner. So there's going to be Belgian block along that right-hand side. So water, you're capturing all the roof leaders now into that new front seepage pit.
Yep.
Is that what I heard? Okay.
Yes.
Where now the leaders just run down either onto the driveway or around the property. They're not being it's not being captured.
Currently, some of the roof leaders are captured. There is an existing seepage pit that's in the driveway that we're actually going to investigate during construction to see what it's like, but not all of the roof leaders go to it, just the fronts, I believe.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So my only question with the flare down at the end, and I totally understand that, and it looks like you're going beyond, you're actually into the right of way. So I don't know what the restrictions are. I might, see what Mr. DeGennaro's thoughts are on it. If he can pop back into the picture there for a minute. Here he is. Oh, he's running up from the beach.
Yeah. There's no setback for a driveway to the property line. Driveway could be right up to a property line. And as a result of that, you're going to have an apron with a radius that's going to project or, across in the right of way, in the public right of way that would cross that property line, just the way it is. There's no curb there, right, Kirsten?
No, it's edge of pavement.
Yeah. So there's no curb. There's, if there was a curb, there would be a little bit of a limitation that could be imposed of 12 feet plus the returns. So that would make it like 15 feet. And, there's really nothing to preclude something like that from happening. I mean, in tighter neighborhoods where you have homes that are on smaller lots, driveways are right up against the property lines. This is a common thing. It's not something that is unusual when you're looking at a driveway that's adjacent to a property line. I mean, there's no way to eliminate that flare that projects into the right of way that crosses the projected property line. I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody there.
Yeah.
Would it help if I showed my screen to show it or no?
I think the board members have the plan in front of them.
Okay.
Yeah, we have all the plans.
Yeah.
And whenever I get applications like this, that people propose driveways up against the property line or close to the property line, I always recommend and require Belgian block to be placed along the driveway, because I don't want the runoff to cascade onto the neighbor's property. And the placement of the Belgian block on this is going to contain the runoff and direct it, I guess, to the towards the street. I'm going back and forth between tables, so the way it looks is the water would flow from the rear driveway, the rear portion of the driveway towards the roadway. And it would be contained within the Belgian block curbing, and it would get to the street. So there would be no negative impact on the adjacent property. Now, if it was proposed without a Belgian block curb, I would strongly recommend that the board require it because of that reason. The driveway has to pitch away from the garage. You don't want the driveway to pitch toward the garage. So then the water goes where? It goes right to the neighbor's property. And it could be his lawn, it could be what have you. But in this case, they have the Belgian block proposed, and that would contain the water and redirect it out towards the street, which is ideal.
Okay. All right, thank you. One of the other comments, was there any consideration why the 16-foot width to the driveway?
We had looked at the narrower widths. Wyckoff doesn't have a specific driveway entrance width of 12 or 15. And when I was discussing stuff with the Urbans, they're building this house to stay here. They bought it 5.5 years ago. They wanted to do the renovations. They want to stay in the town. They want to raise their kids here. Their kids are a little bit younger at this point. And in the conversations of ultimately when kids are older with cars, my recommendation was 16 feet so you can pass two cars safely and not have to jimmy around multiple cars. You know, parking spaces are 9 feet wide, and that leaves room for door openings that I felt 8 feet. If you had 8 feet and 8 feet, if a car was parked on the side, it was a better design to keep cars on your property and not be doing a lot of in and outs onto the street that were unnecessary. That going down to the 12 or 15, I think would limit that ability for their future, that the 16 foot was the least amount, but provided them what they needed for multiple cars in the driveway.
Thank you. And nothing on that right-hand side, all the screening that's there, minus right in the front corner, nothing else is proposed to come out back there, right? I see a couple small X's. Is there anything else?
Those were the large trees that were located. There are a lot of bushes and shrubbery along the side. I think the intent is during construction, I mean, they're going to save what they can of what's on theirs, but because of the extent of where the widths are, I'm not sure exactly whose is what. I mean, aside from the larger trees that could be located. I do ultimately think they're going to put something back for their own privacy too, but at this time, as part of landscaping plans around the building, they didn't want to have to commit or do anything at this point, but I do believe they're going to do something at some point. It was just more of, there's a lot of greenery right there that they're going to figure out during construction. We just knew the large trees had to come out.
So you only have 2.8 feet at that back right corner,
Yes.
right? And then what is it? You said 3.2, maybe a little further?
It's 2.8 at the back right corner, and it's 3.2 when you get to the front property line, but it widens out in the middle to 4.4 feet.
Oh. Oh, so you do actually have some room there. You could plant something small.
Yeah, I spoke with our landscape architect about different types of evergreens that can fit in the area if needed. It just, at the time of plans and, you know, satisfying requirements and stuff, we weren't trying to show more than what was needed then, but I have discussed stuff with the Urbans of, you know, if plantings are wanted to be seen, if approved as a condition of resolution, we can show some types of evergreens as a little bit of a buffer. I have some that I had spoken with my landscape architect that could work in the area.
Do they think they could get something to work all the way back? More importantly, the front, I don't know that that would be any major issue, but opposite the garage. The only thing I'm thinking is if somebody pulls up and then backs into the garage, and then the neighbor's gonna have headlights pointed at them.
She did give me, I don't honestly remember off the top of my head. I think one of them was a sky something. I can.
I've heard of that. They're nice.
They're nice.
Sky somethings.
The sky somethings. I know there are definitely shrubs and evergreens, whether we go with the car headlight height of getting them up just enough to block car headlights versus getting taller for actually full screening. There are definitely evergreen shrubs that can buffer that will work in that area.
I think you should look into that option.
Okay.
Only because I experience it and the way even my house is, I see with my neighbors as well. And then there's fencing up to protect it, but I don't know if a fence is the best. I do like the natural screening.
Yeah.
So
okay.
It's narrow, but if you could propose something, you've got some area there. Maybe just fill that in. Something low that would just capture some of that so the neighbors don't look out and all of a sudden have headlights pointed right at them.
Okay.
But visiting the site today though, and again, I'm just going from the bearings that were there, i.e. where the fence is on the Urban's property.
Yeah.
Those 4 trees, the majority of that screening, I believe, and again, maybe the adjacent neighbor will testify to that, but it looks like most of it, and again, whether they're, most of the screening is on their property.
Yes, I agree.
Again, a whole bunch of rhododendrons, trees alike, and again, I know I drove around to make sure they do have a deck in the back, so I understand that, but the neighbor does. But I'm not sure how much you can go in because again, there's a whole canopy from the neighbor's property that comes onto their property, up and over there.
So I drove around to see if you could see through. I'm not sure how much is going to be coming out and how much that is going to thin out.
Right.
And now's the time to see it.
I agree.
You can kind of see through it, and I think it's probably simple. And you know what it does? It also kind of defines that and gives you a nice little like buffer on that right-hand side as well.
I agree.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to wait till later to bring this up, but I was just, thinking out loud here, for the applicant's benefit too. We're talking about the screening there, and I agree with Mr. Hubert's assessment before those mature trees are being cut down and then going up. You're putting up a nice house, Mr. Canzani, we're used to seeing a nice plan and design like this. They're knocking down, they're building up from the ground. Would we like to see a little bit, for everybody's benefit, a little bit more of a comprehensive landscape plan? This way it'll either define that screening and then can address maybe if the rest of the board agrees and feels that the mature trees need to be put back. You're going through all this work. I think it's to everybody's benefit.
So I think that was probably going to come up. I know Mr. Rubenacker, had some questions about it as well. Typically, when we have a brand new structure, we'll have a set of landscape plans.
Yeah.
That'll show definitively what's going on. This, and Ms. Osterkorn, I don't know if this is something, did you pop these on the drawing? This is your drawing?
Yeah, this is my drawing. I mean, I have a landscape architect on staff, so we design it together, but I guess just in my experience of everything else in front of the board, I've never done a whole separate landscape plan before. This is work, been satisfied.
Yeah. So, with what's coming out versus what you have going back in, it is a pretty limited plan. When you only have a legend that has 4 different species on it, and some of them include rhododendron, then the board they want to see what you're going to screen, like certainly foundation, the whole left-hand side. I don't know what you have going on over there. And then the front, you just have 3, which are the rhododendron, 36-inch. So you've got some pretty small plantings that are going in here. I wish Mr. Borst were here. He'd be able to chime in on it as well. Let's table that for right now. So landscape plan, I think we're going to have to address, maybe do some work with.
But as I raised before in the work session, I do want to talk about these 4 mature trees that are being removed and what does the applicant plan to do to replace them in some way, shape, or form? Because really, there's nothing. The front of the house, on the property, there's really nothing. It's only on the left and right where there's any type of in our plantings.
So the 4 that are coming out, they're right in that cluster, right where the driveway's going.
Right-hand side, yeah.
Is there I mean, I didn't see anything in the ordinance for tree replacement requirements. Is there something that I don't know about caliper size and replacement that's required?
No, it's one of those, we don't want to encourage people to just clear cut. And not that this is a clear cut, but if you're taking down mature trees, unless they're not healthy and it's for everyone's best interest that you're taking them out and it doesn't make sense to replant. When you do have trees that are rather mature and healthy, we always encourage people to replace in kind.
Okay, and I know I've been in front of the board for other applications with multiple variances and more hardships and stuff. In a case like this where understanding we're here for an existing lot with requirement and ultimately all of their other requirements that they're proposing do comply, is a more comprehensive landscape plan something that I can work with as a condition of approval, or is it going to be something that's going to make them?
I just for the record.
No,
I didn't mean it to.
we would be able to move forward.
Yeah,
Okay.
And so this is.
I got a little worried.
So this is, we're not going to shoot the whole thing down.
Okay.
Yet. What it does is it just puts the burden onto Mr. DeGennaro, and then Mr. Borst will get involved just so he can review it, make sure he's okay with it, and he'll represent the board, and he'll coordinate with
Okay.
Mr. DeGennaro so that it's clearly articulated, so that when Mr. DeGennaro goes out to inspect, he knows what the heck the board approved, and then he can say,
Understood.
yes, you did it.
So I can end up, okay, so after we move forward with Mr. Kanzani and comments, if approved, that's, I know it's if, it is something that I can work with in more detail to their satisfaction to get it more comprehensive to which would represent the board's liking.
That's right. And
Okay.
what we'll have you do is just revise it and submit it to Ms. Mitchell so it can be reviewed prior to memorializing the application.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. All right, board, any other questions for Ms. Osterkorn? All right, why don't we move on to Mr. Kanzani?
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for hearing us tonight. So, as Ms. Osterkorn said, kind of moving from the driveway to the dwelling, 3-car garage located at the right side of the house. The overall style of the house, shingle style with kind of large sweeping gables. The exterior cladding of the home is a PVC simulated shake to simulate traditional cedar siding. The window trim, siding, columns, brackets, soffits, gutters, etc., are all to be PVC white clad there. And the roof is to be an asphalt shingle roofing to be determined by owner. Aluminum gutters and leaders, kind of standard. And then, so moving from the driveway, there's a walkway from the driveway leading around to the front porch that extends from that right side gable that sticks in front of the garage over to the entry door. There, if you're moving around the left side, that on the front left of the house, kind of extruded out, is a proposed sunroom there. Moving around, actually, let's stay on A1. Moving around the garage side, you can see the 3-car garage articulated there. And beyond that, as we're moving towards the rear, there's a proposed trash enclosure accessible from the rear mudroom doors or garage. Above that, kind of protruding out of the large sweeping roof there, is a gable and shed roof form with some of the second floor spaces contained within. Moving around to A2, we move to the rear of the home. Again, on the left-hand side at the rear elevation, kind of see the rear entry door to the mudroom, and then moving across the lower floor, we have a window and a pantry, larger window, kind of looking over a sink in the kitchen there, doors to an eating kitchen, and then a covered patio structure at the rear with wood burning fireplace and chimney proposed there. Second floor looking from left to right, we're looking at windows that are in the master closet, entry and master bedroom there. Coming around the left side elevation of the home, again, you can see the covered patio out the rear. Then the next set of windows there would be into a family room, great room. Moving forward, there's a proposed billiard room or living room. And then again, at the front, as you get to that front corner, is a proposed sunroom kind of facing south, taking advantage of the natural light there. Again, as Ms. Osterkorn mentioned, we try to keep the height down below the max 35 required in that area. And I think a lot of, based on the style of the home, a lot of the appeal to the home is, seeing some of the roof, build up from the sides and kind of coming to a larger massing within the middle. So it kind of softens the visual appeal. Moving into the home on the first floor, again noted, we have a covered porch at the front entry door, moving into a foyer that then leads to the main living spaces. Dining room at the right, again, that 3-car garage at the right as discussed previously. Proposed billiard room, sunroom at the left again, and then moving further through the foyer into the house, we've got stair going, accessing the second floor and basement into the breakfast area, open to the kitchen, great room, family room at the left, covered patio and open patio at the rear, and then moving to the right side, connecting to the driveway and garage, we have a mud room, powder room, and pantry there. Moving to the second floor, proposed are 4 bedrooms. Coming up the stair to landing, on the left side of the home is a laundry room and kind of an ensuite bedroom, walk-in closet, and dedicated bathroom. And at the right side front, we've got 2 bedrooms that would share a common hall bathroom. And moving back to the rear of the house is where the master suite is located there. In addressing some of the comments brought up by the neighbor as far as the width is concerned and the dimension string noted or lack thereof on the drawing, we noted the interior dimensions, but the overall width of the home at the front as well as the rear is 66 feet, which aligns with Ms. Osterkorn's plan and fits within the required setbacks as indicated. The only additional, protrusion is in the great room where the proposed gas fireplace sticks out another 6 inches. But that is also noted on Ms. Osterkorn's plan and a reduction of half a foot in that location. The first floor proposed is 9-foot ceiling and second floor 8 foot. 9 foot. No, 8 foot. With some vaulted areas in the master bedroom as well as the bathroom. I think that addresses the majority of the layout of the house and exterior articulation. And then if the board has any questions or concerns.
Is the basement finished? Is there
The
electrical, wet bar?
correction, yeah. So a portion of the basement is proposed to be finished with playroom, half bath, office, and mechanical room.
Okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Kanzani?
And no questions, Carl.
Okay. All right, I don't either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, board, any other questions? It looks like the comments, I had numbers 1 and 2 for you, Mr. Kanzani, on that list. It looks like you addressed them. You said the overall width of the house, did you say 66 feet?
Correct.
Okay. Board, we're good? All
I'm
right, I
good.
will open it up. I know we do have someone from the public, so I'll open it up to the public now to speak on behalf of 239 Cottage Road, Block 461, Lot 13.
Yes, thank you. My name is Robert Ishkanian. I'm the owner.
I'm gonna have you sworn in. I'm the board attorney, so if you could raise your right hand, please.
Yes,
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
yes, I do.
If you can, again, state your name, spelling your last name for the record, and giving your address.
My name is Robert Ishkanian, Ishkanian, and I live at 441 Glendale Road in Wyckoff, Block
Thank you.
461, Lot 12.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Ishkanian, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I think some of the questions have been answered, but I'll try to, not be redundant here. But just to clarify the first two questions, it's my understanding that the site plan says the house is 64 feet wide. Is that an inconsistency? Because I understand the gentleman is confirming there's 66 feet, but I'm under the impression that the site plan is showing 64 feet. And that seems to be an inconsistency.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just checked the measurements on my site plan and it's 66 feet.
Okay.
Are you seeing it dimensioned somewhere on a drawing, or were you scaling it?
I had an engineer look at this and he told me of this inconsistency. So I'm just passing it on. He's saying when you add up everything, he did think it came to 66, but he's telling me the site plan is calling for 64.
It might be the way, I mean, the measurements given are perpendicular to the property lines, but the house isn't exactly parallel or perpendicular completely. I mean, there's different, from front to back, so that might be part of adding it across, that it's not a straight line from one side to the other because the dimensions are taken perpendicular.
Okay, I'll leave it to the township engineers and the urban professionals to confirm that. I'm just bringing up what appeared to be an apparent inconsistency there, and I'll leave it at that. I think question number 3, you did confirm, if I tried to carefully listen to everything that was said here by Ms. Osterkorn and Mr. Kinzani, and it seems that the driveway comes somewhere between 2'8", 3'2", 4'4" at different spots along the plan. So it appears that you have confirmed those measurements. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I think I can dispense with question 4 because I don't think there was much. I think the board has elaborated on the landscape situation there. And number 5, I believe you did confirm those widths, so I'll dispense with that. So on number 6, and this is a really very important point for me. It appears that the width of the mouth of this driveway on Cottage Road, I thought originally it was around 30 feet. If I heard the testimony right, or the presentation, you're saying that mouth from one end of the block, entrance to the driveway, to the other end of the entrance to the driveway is 36 feet wide. Is that correct?
I did it from curb to curb, so where the curb piece meets the edge of pavement. But the actual then mouth, I mean, you could take it at so many different points. I mean, the actual mouth then when you're in, gets down to 25 feet and then 20 feet. But if they're installing the curb and they go to meet the pavement, where their curb actually starts from like curb to curb would be 36 feet, because we ended up doing let me just get it really quick. We did a 10-foot radius coming in, which was a nice design for entry for swooping in and out with your car and not having it be a sharp turn. It's not a big radius and it's not a small radius. It was a 10-foot radius to come in off of the street. So the opening ended up where the curbs were, ended up being 36 feet.
But, okay, talking as a layman though, so basically where a car tire can enter on that curb on Cottage is, if you measure that point to the opposite side, you're talking 36 feet wide from the widest entrance where a vehicle could enter. Is that, am I
Yes,
accurate?
yes.
36 feet. I'd like that to be on the record. Okay. I believe question number 7, you confirmed is 16 feet wide.
Yes.
Okay. So I would like to understand, confirm to me that how far, if you drew, question number 8, confirm whether any or all or part of the driveway, including the flare area, would encroach into my property line through the right of way. I think from what I'm hearing today, that's a definitive yes answer. Is that correct?
Well, answering yes to the question of I wouldn't like to put on the record that it's projecting onto your property because it is the public right of way. But if we were to extend your property line until it meets the roadway, so through the public right of way, the start of the flared curb would be 8 feet on the east side of that.
So what you're saying is that if you drew the extended property line of my property straight to Cottage, this driveway, the entrance to this driveway on that flared curve is going to be 8 feet into my property line. Is that correct?
I'm not going to say that it's going to be onto your property because it's not your property.
To clarify, onto my property line that extends through the right of way.
That is correct. It will be 8 feet.
Into that, okay,
Public right of way of your property line extended.
8 feet in.
Yep.
Okay. Can the driveway be built without encroaching on my property line and allow for adequate vehicle ingress or egress?
I looked at a couple other scenarios to have a proper ingress and egress with a curve in, and all of them do cross over the extended property line in the public right of way at some point. The angle of the driveway coming in, I didn't want to do. Is a possible yes, but I prefer the design that I put on paper that's submitted as it is right now. Because it makes the driveway perpendicular to the street. If I try to shift the driveway over to move the curb flare over, it would be, their driveway entrance would be on an angle in relation to Cottage Place, which isn't as ideal as it coming in more perpendicular.
So if I understand what you're saying is you could have designed it differently. In your opinion, you could not make an adequate entrance without encroaching over that property line into the right of way, but you didn't bother seeing whether or not you could lessen that impact. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say that I didn't bother seeing it. I thought my design was a better design to have the driveway be coming in perpendicular to the road as opposed to on an angle. So I did look at it. I thought this design was a better design.
So let me try to restate this. So you're saying that you could not design a driveway without encroaching that projected property line. Let me get that as can you just answer that question, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, you couldn't do it. Okay, and you didn't look at any alternatives to lessen that impact? You didn't contemplate it because you thought this was a good design?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Can the flare be eliminated? Is the flare, listen, I'm on a main road. I should have a 50-foot flare so I don't get whacked trying to get into my driveway. I don't have a flare. I don't even know what the hell you mean by a flare like that. I don't know why you need a flare like that, unless it's aesthetics.
It was after talking with the Urbans, and then when I've driven on their street to pull into their driveway, it was a nicer entrance that made it easier backing in and out on their road. When cars are on it, if someone's parked, it's just difficult. So it was a nicer.
Yeah, so it's a side street. It's not a main road.
Yes.
The driveway is 16 feet wide, which I agree. If you tried to scale that back, at some point, you're going to have multiple cars and you're going to be screaming, why didn't we make the driveway wider so we could pass two cars? So I think the 16 feet is fine. I also just think that probably gives you enough swing radius to turn into that driveway without clipping the curb.
Okay.
This is just me, because I would probably look at it like, why do you have to have that? I would probably be saying the same thing, not to be a pain in the neck.
Well, normally if we were in public right now, I would end up turning over to the Urbans and asking them a question, but I can't really do that. So right now, I mean,
If you want to take,
if
you want to take 5 minutes, you can.
Yeah, if you
I
want.
don't know how I can call.
Yeah, no, if you want, you can call them. Put yourself on mute and call them. We'll give you a couple minutes to discuss it.
You can both go off on the screen, off and go mute and talk to each other. That's fine.
Yeah, and Kirsten, I would add that I agree with the chairman. I mean, I would agree if there was curbing that you were trying to match on Cottage, that would be something that, that radius needs to be there because you have to blend the driveway, but you don't have curbing there. You could certainly reduce the flare. I mean, on commercial driveway aprons, the minimum is 25 foot on the driveway apron. You're at 35, 36. I mean, I think you can easily reduce that driveway apron flare to something straighter and basically have it end at where the projected property line ends with the road. I mean, even if I don't think it's an unreasonable request, and I certainly don't think it's impossible.
I will be right back.
Okay.
Am I still muted?
Nope, we hear you.
I guess they're addressing the question D, 8D. Can this be built without a flare? I don't know if that's.
I think they're going back. They've now muted. They're calling one another to try to discuss if that's an option. But that's what's proposed right now, to eliminate it or make it so they can end it so that it doesn't go beyond the property line.
I see.
Would that be satisfactory to you, sir?
Yes, subject to my other comments. Yeah, I mean, I frankly just don't see a need, and I don't want to overstep my thing, and I want to speak when I'm properly supposed to speak. But I mean, a 36-foot width is in my mind, and I've spoken to knowledgeable engineers, it's insane to have a 36-foot wide. You just said it, Mr. DeGennaro, or Mr. Fry, commercial properties have a 30-foot minimum. This is 36 feet. I mean, what do you need a 30-foot tractor, a straight 30-foot truck to get into this property? I mean,
Hey, Dave, should we hold all testimony until the applicant comes back on with his or her professionals?
I just
don't know
asked a
whether they're not
question,
hearing
so.
or not. I mean, he probably should, but they may be able to hear. I don't know.
Yeah,
All right, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, just wait.
thank you.
If anybody needs to take a bathroom break, now's the time to do it.
Okay, I'm back.
Too late.
Darn it.
Oh, why?
No, we're kidding.
The Urbans definitely, they want to keep a nice relationship and not push too many things, and taking into consideration everything. While that would be nice, we understand with the side road and everything, we can just have the curb extended straight to the edge of pavement and take out the radius, so it won't be at all into the projected property line right of way question.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Okay. Was that it, Mr. Ishkanian, or?
So I'd like to I'll try to be brief, but I'd like to go to question. I think the board addressed a lot of this with landscaping, and I'm wondering, was there not a consideration given to putting a fence? And this sort of, and not all the way across, but like from the beginning of the driveway, like along the driveway, which is sort of what I'm saying in question 9. I mean, you guys covered shrubbery. I don't really know what's needed there for shrubbery. I'll leave it to the experts. But I guess with the fact that this border is around 2'8" or 3 foot or 4 feet, or depending upon where you are, how is my neighbor going to deal with large volumes of snow? And where is the snow going to go? And I understand what Mr. DeGennaro said about, homes typically in other neighborhoods, everyone's driveway is close to one another. I understand that. But you have a significant volume of macadam to shovel and plow out. So when you have a 3 foot, 2'8" border, where are they going to put the snow? And as to that, following to that point, if there's no fence to demarcate the property or sort of shield my property from a situation where, frankly, I don't think they'd have a choice but to put tons of snow onto my property, perhaps destroy significant rhododendron plantings that Mr. Herbert took note of that have been there for probably 40 years. Where's the snow going to go? How are they going to deal with that? And I'm not saying this to bust their chops, but where's the snow going to go? So I guess it's a question.
For Mr. just to try to touch upon this, and if the Urbans want to jump in, they can. Understanding Mr. Ishkanian and respecting the question and your landscaping and the purpose and intent of it. At this time, the Urbans don't have a plan for fencing, not being required, not part of this application. And while we understand the intent of what you're getting at, the questions on clients' purpose of maintenance of their property and what they are going to do with snow removal isn't really part of an application of what could be and what may or may not happen. I would imagine, as being good neighbors and not wanting to have issues, is that when they do snow blow their property, they're going to turn the chute to the left and have it go in their front yard. Or if they have it plowed, they're going to push it to the back now that they have a side entry garage and it can go all the way to the back. But speaking to property maintenance, I'm understanding your concern. I just don't think it's really applicable or part of this application. I just would imagine that the Urbans have no intent of creating any issues and causing any harm to plants or anything with your property, that they are going to do the best they can to keep snow on their property like everyone else is supposed to do in town as well.
The plan can't be revised slightly? You can't alter the driveway slightly to allow a little space for that?
The way the driveway is right now is allowing the adequate space that they need to back up from their garage, which is meeting code in terms of setbacks. So in essence, they could put the driveway closer to your property line, but they're not. They're putting it where it needs to be to provide their driveway access. And asking them to put up fencing for potential snow removal isn't part of what they're looking to do at this time.
Okay, well, I think it's a problem. And, I think it's more of a problem from the street, going back, not necessarily further up the property.
Understood.
All right, so that was number 9. I guess the answer is they're not proposing to make any other changes to the driveway. They've got the required amount for the turnarounds, and there's still a little bit of a buffer where they could go to the side. They're not. They're leaving a buffer there just so maybe they can do some landscaping.
Yep.
And
So the board's opinion is there's no way you can create a little bit bigger buffer border to deal with the issue that I'm discussing.
they can't really reduce the macadam by the garage, because then they will not have the turnaround that they're going to need to get into that garage. But what you're saying is it's a hypothetical situation. What if? And your concern is them dumping snow onto your property. So the answer, I think what I heard was they're not going to dump snow on your property.
Yeah, no, I hear that answer, but I don't think it's possible, is what I'm saying with the design, because there's nowhere to put it. And now I understand about the turning radius in the back, but what about towards the throat from the street up to the home? Can that buffer be slightly increased while still giving them adequate width in their driveway?
Increase beyond 4 feet.
Well, increase from what it is. I don't know, from Cottage, if you run up Cottage towards up the driveway to right before their house starts, can that buffer be increased is what I'm saying.
No.
Why not?
The design that we have, if we try to increase it and create curves and turns in their driveway, is not what the Urbans are looking to do. They want a straight entrance to turn into their driveway and have their driveway throat, and 4 feet is a decent amount of space for landscaping or anything else and they are meeting code requirements and they don't need to lessen it at all. And their design is very nice. And we got rid of a flare so it doesn't encroach into a projected property line in the right of way. So I think what they're conceding to in their design is good. And we're not moving the driveway anymore.
So you're saying it's 2'8" at the entrance to the driveway, is that correct?
Yes, at the rear right property, and the rear of the driveway is 2.8. And then it opens up and it becomes 4.4 feet.
When you say the rear, you're talking about by the house or by Cottage?
But the rear.
The house, the far corner where the garage is.
Right. I'm more concerned about by Cottage with a buffer. You can't draw a straight line with more of a buffer by Cottage.
Mr. Ishkanian, I have to stop you. What they're proposing, they've already created 4 foot. It looks like it tapers to 3 foot. They don't want to put an offset in their driveway, probably because they're going to put curbing down there the entire way. And then you're going to be driving over that thing maybe by accident. I think you're challenging it because you think they're going to put snow on your property, which is woods. If it's damaging any landscaping, by all means, that's something you guys can deal with. But they're saying that they have a plan. They're not going to relocate the driveway And even if we said, yeah, can you move it another half of a foot? I don't know what you gain by doing that. I mean, for
Okay,
that purpose, they're going to throw all the snow onto their front yard. They don't have a choice.
okay. And you're telling me just the last point is you're saying that the water drain off from the driveway is handled properly. It's from everything I heard in the testimony.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, those are the end of my questions.
Okay. All right, well, hey, so I will say you were very thorough. It does look like you consulted an engineer, as you mentioned. We appreciate you getting these to us. We're taking some time on this. I would like to start to move forward. Hopefully we addressed all your comments. This is probably the most we've seen, not the longest testimony by a neighbor, but I don't want to exceed that one. But very thorough. So hopefully they addressed everything, and thank you for sending them to us so they could prepare accordingly. Okay, Ms. Mitchell, we only had one person from the public. Is that correct? You're muted.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Very good. Board, do we have any other final questions for either the applicant or the engineer or architect?
I think the only final item, Carl, is we just need to come to final resolution on the landscape plan and what we're going to want to see added. I also agree with Mr. Hubert. These 4 large trees that are coming out in the front right, I think we should require at least 4 going back in, maybe 1 or 2 in the front along the along the curb line, and 2 to 3 in the back, just to keep the the wooded area look. And then also I would like to see additional plantings go in along the right side of that edge of the driveway that we had talked about. I know that Ms. Osterkorn mentioned, and then also some foundational plantings either around the left side or the back of the house.
Mr. Rubenecker, I'm sorry, can you repeat what you said about the front and the back with trees? I missed the.
Well, we're taking those 4 large trees out in the front right corner.
Yeah.
I'd like to see, similar or types of trees, or some type of large tree going back, same number or more going back into the landscape plan.
Okay.
Maybe along the street line, but then also into the backyard.
Okay, thank you.
Unless anybody else on the board has a different idea.
Listen, I'm pretty good with whatever they're taking down if they can replace that in kind. And I think it's a good plan. Definitely the landscaping on the right-hand side by the garage, and then the left-hand side around that front bump out. I forget what room that is, but the front left.
It's like a sunroom or something, yeah.
Yeah, whatever that is, just kind of clean it up around some foundational planting around that side and around the left-hand side of the house.
I think those 4 trees, not all 4 of them are deciduous trees. I believe at least one of them is a pine tree. So I think at least 3, I'd love to see 4 shade trees go back into the property, but at least 2 in the front, sharing similar sentiments to Mr. Rubenacker. I also agree with the plantings along the right side of the driveway, and I think that'll also alleviate a lot of Mr. Ishkanian's concerns. If the homeowner's got some skip laurels or something that is gonna be along that driveway side, then they're not gonna put their snow there because it's gonna kill the bushes they just put in. And most of their snow is gonna go towards the back of the property anyway, or out the front of the driveway. So I think doing planting along that side, at least where the garage area is, I think would prevent them from putting the snow there and alleviate some of those concerns.
Ms. Osterkorn, you okay? You got them?
Yes, I wrote everything down.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Board, anything else? A lot of
And I'm gonna make the
discussion.
driveway straight,
Make the driveway Belgian block.
no
What's up?
flare, straight to the edge of pavement.
Right.
No flare.
Got it.
All right.
Just to say one point, I'm not going to try obviously to kill anyone's shrubs or anything like that. I like to maintain a good relationship with neighbors. So, I don't want to get into a big thing where everyone's arguing and things like that. So, obviously I'm not going to try to purposely damage anything or get on someone's nerves purposely. I know I don't know if that needs to be said, but just to be honest with everyone and upfront, I mean, I don't want to have an issue, fighting with neighbors and things like that. I'm not going to put the snow in his driveway. I mean, in his, kill his plants on purpose.
Understood. Appreciate that.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, board, if there are no other questions or comments, then I'll entertain a motion on the urban application 239 Cottage Road, block 461, lot 13.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on the urban application 239 Cottage Road, block 461, lot 13, with the following stipulations of driveway going straight out to the curb and not flaring out onto the street, and a more detailed landscape plan which addresses the screening along the borderline side of the driveway, and addresses replacing the 4 trees, deciduous trees that will be coming down.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rubenecker?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riato,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenecker,
Yes.
Mr. Christ,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. All right, congratulations.
Good luck.
Good luck
Good
with it.
luck with construction. Be a good neighbor.
Yeah, no, of course. Thank you. Thanks for everything.
All right.
You're
Take
considering.
care. Good luck.
Thank you, everyone.
Night.
Good night.
Yeah, no more snow this year, next year.
All right. Okay. Next application is Messina application, 191 Hillside Avenue. I think I see Mr. Messina in there.
I am here. Hi, everyone.
Oh,
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna shut. Okay.
Christina,
Can you hear me?
you're going to introduce your application yourself?
Yes, yeah, I can do that.
Please raise your right hand then. Do you swear or affirm testimony you'll give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I affirm.
Thank you.
I do.
Just again, for the record, state your name and the address for the record, please.
Sure. Charles Messina, 191 Hillside Avenue in Wyckoff, New Jersey.
Thank you.
So thanks, everyone. I know it's a late night. We'll try to keep this short. We grew up sort of in the area with my wife and her family living really close and operating a business for 40 years in a nearby town. And I moved here to Wyckoff in 2016 with the intent to live here for the long haul and grow our family here. So we now have 3 kids, 2 daughters, 6 and 4, and a 16-month-old son. So we've grown. And we're very involved with the community, our children's schools, but most importantly, we love our neighborhood, and the other kids on the street have become best friends, especially through COVID. So we really want to stay in this particular home. But the house isn't workable as is. Currently there's enough room to fit 4 bar stools around a kitchen island. There's no room whatsoever for a kitchen table So what we end up doing is sticking, more stools around kind of like a tiny island area, which was fine when our kids were younger. Now we have 3, they're getting bigger. We spend, we realize now, especially through COVID, 90% of our waking hours really in the kitchen and that family room area. And it's just really tight. So the scope of the project is meant to just do a small bump out that I believe, even if our backyard was not completely private, which it is, would be, and, there was no trees, would be very respectful to the neighbors in the town. So just a couple quick things to keep in mind, and then I'm done. We're not expanding the footprint of the house at all. We're only adding a marginal space to the rear. It's improving the sunroom to make the house a little more consistent. And in terms of the neighborhood, we're still just kind of like a medium house on the street. This is really just about the kids' space and wanting to stay here more comfortably. I know there was a question about a garage. I am an attorney, a litigator. It was a little bit over my head. I got concerned. I texted Rob, who is here as well, my architect, and he said, don't worry, it's included. So I'll turn it over to him unless the board, anyone has questions for me.
So one quick question. When I went to type in the address to map it out to go to it, it popped up under realtor.com. Was the house recently for sale?
No, that's very odd.
And you're planning on living in the house?
Yes.
You're not planning on selling the house,
We have
from what I hear.
plans to sell the house. Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if I should be concerned about that. That it was on.
Yeah, it was kind of odd.
We bought it in 2016, and yeah, we haven't listed it since. So
Oh, maybe it's old data. It did say not for sale currently, but it was kind of odd that realtor.com is the first thing that popped up.
Okay.
Anyhow, all right, we can move on. So Mr. Forbes is going to provide some testimony. Okay.
You want me to swear in, or do you want me to give credentials, or?
Oh, you're muted.
Yep, there we go. Raise your right hand, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
If you could state your name for the record, spelling your last name, and giving your professional address.
Sure. It's Robert Forbes, Forbes. At professional address is 38 Chatham Road in Short Hills, New Jersey, 07078.
And if you could just briefly tell us your professional credentials, a little bit about your background.
I graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology in 2007 with a Bachelor's of Architecture. I became licensed to practice architecture in the state of New Jersey in 2014. License is in good standing. I've appeared before many boards, primarily in the Morris, Essex, and Union area. Charles is actually my brother-in-law, so he's got me up there helping him out on this. Hope to be in front of you guys again.
Okay, no, that sounds fine. I think his credentials are suitable.
Very good. You can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to go quickly through some of the stuff that Mr. DeGennaro already went through. Obviously, we're at 191 Hillside Avenue, Lot 15, Block 354. It's the RA25 zone. We have a lot area of 10,200 square feet. The building style is a colonial. It was built in, we believe it was finished being built in 2007. I just heard that it was in front of you guys in 2005. The kind of neighborhood, it's got a diverse neighborhood. It has a mixture of 1.5 and 2-story homes. And there's a lot of varied lot sizes as you kind of look through the neighborhoods. Like they're not all rectangular lots. There's a lot of different size lots. That's kind of one of the issues we have here. It's the hardship that I think you guys mentioned, putting us kind of with a C1 variance because of our lot size. We're at about 40% of the required lot size of the zone, which obviously creates some challenges for us. So we have some existing nonconformities in lot size, lot width, lot depth. The existing principal building coverage is over just slightly at about 16.2%. We are looking to add an addition of 91 square feet, which is less than a 1% increase. Increases is up to 17.15%. Just to be noted, there's an existing patio there, and we're just reusing the pavers and kind of manipulating them a little bit. And we're actually reducing the patio size. So we are offsetting some of our additional coverage. Like the net increase in total coverage is only about 70 square feet, even though the addition is 91 square feet. We have a variance we're requesting for rear yard setback, where we're extending into the rear yard to 31.92 for an extended variance of about 8 feet or 8.08 feet. I was very careful when we designed this structure to try to be sensitive to that. That's hence the shape and it being a glass building, almost like it's a jewel that's attached to the rear of the house. I was really trying to activate the rear yard for Charles and create a better open connection to that rear yard, the inside outside. It was kind of surprising the house this new didn't have an eat-in kitchen. So that was kind of obviously the primary thing we were kind of going at here. Related to your question about the total area, so in my calculations, everything that's included in that first floor number is everything with a roof. So it's the garage, the whole building, and it's even actually the covered porch. So if you were to back out and try to go back to that gross floor area number that has a maximum of 3,700 square feet, you could actually take the open porch out of my number. So it would actually reduce by 40 square feet. So we're well under the maximum size.
Good answer.
Again, I think we've been the property is densely shrubbed. It's very hard to see this addition, I think, from any of the neighboring properties. And again, it's very transparent and one story. And, we were trying to be very sensitive to everything back there because obviously there's not a ton of space.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right, so you went over the variances, non-conforming, extremely undersized lot, did come before us once before, 2005, got approval to build. It's a 10,200 square foot lot where you need 25,000. Frontage is undersized, 85 instead of 125, and the depth is also short by 30 feet. So you don't have the depth that kind of hurts you in this application. And then the one that's triggering it is you were conforming before for the rear yard, but now you're going to 31.92. You're already over on the principal. You're going over by less than 1% more, but you don't have any accessories. So combined, you're still below the 20%. That kind of summarizes it. All right. This one's very cut and dry. I was just curious as to how they built a house in 2005 that didn't have like a decent enough sitting area in the kitchen, but I kind of see what you're referring to. And that's really all you're trying to get is another sitting area in that kitchen.
That's right. I mean, it's a very compartmentalized kind of back of the house for a house that was built in that kind of time frame. I don't know if it was done for a particular owner. So it's a little of a dated plan for 2005, I would say.
Okay. All right, board, any questions or comments for Mr. Forbes, the architect, or Mr. Messina?
No questions, Carl. Fairly straightforward. Actually, very straightforward.
I agree.
I just have one comment that needs to be said. Maureen was a joy to work with, and I like it. I intend to write to the mayor. I really do because I'm not a land use attorney. It was busy work, but she really was went beyond to help me. And anyone that I'm sure you all know because you work with her, but anyone that gets the pleasure of doing that, is lucky. So, just wanted to throw that out there to everyone.
Thank you.
What about the engineer?
He can't say those comments. We're being recorded.
You've all been great.
Special
thank you to Maureen, and obviously my brother-in-law for sitting on this for 3 hours and a tie nonetheless. And I'm here in a sweatshirt, but
like the Grammys. All right, who else are we thanking? All right.
How about that chairman?
That's good. Thank you for the comments. We certainly agree. Maureen and Mark are fantastic to work with. That's for sure. Okay. Maureen, you said there's nobody else. There's nobody else left from the public, right? Okay.
No.
So we'll open for the public, and there's no one there, so we will close to the public. All right, board. This is a tough one. I suspect it's going to be tight.
All right, you ready, Mr. Chairman?
Okay, excuse me?
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. I'd like to propose we approve the Messina application, 191 Hillside Ave, Wyckoff, New Jersey, as submitted.
Okay, nice to see you, as submitted.
Which includes the two variances that are requested, the rear yard setback and the coverage variance.
Correct.
Right. Thank you. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Rioto?
Yes.
With the second, okay, great.
Mr. Tanis,
Yes.
Mr. Kalpagian,
Yes.
Mr. Hubert,
Yes.
Ms. Riado,
Yes.
Mr. Rubenecker,
Yes.
Mr. Chris,
Yes.
Chairman Fry.
Yes. All right, that was a close one.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Thanks,
Have a good night.
Good luck
All
to
right,
you.
you too. Good luck with everything.
Bye-bye.
All right. So the second one, you know, it's funny. Sometimes you get the packet and you look at the applications, and you're like, oh, wow, you know what? That one's going to go pretty quick. And then you get into more details. And those are the ones that it's like 2 hours later, you're like, wow, I thought that was going to be a simple application. That's what we had.
I had the same
Just
feeling.
on a note on that, and I think you guys handled it well on the snow issue. If they're if they're conforming as into the driveway, the setbacks, you really can't get involved in that. You can listen, you can encourage a neighbor to be a good neighbor, but that's not something you could deny. I mean, snow is snow. I mean, that's a maintenance issue. I think it was handled well. You didn't like just give a short shrift, but you can't really. I mean, if they were looking for a variance to go right up against the property line, then it's a question. But if they're conforming, they need the space. I mean, that's a maintenance issue of the property. I mean, you can't really deny it or force them to do something else because of a snow issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really not in the purview of this board to get involved in where the snow is going to go and all that kind of thing. You know, if they don't clear their sidewalk, then obviously the town gets involved. If they're damaging someone's plants, they can get involved. But this board really can't make decisions as long as they're complying about snow. It's just, I think you guys handle it well. That's why I didn't butt in there. But it's not something that really you can make decisions on where they're going to put the snow. I mean, that's not the purview of this board. So.
Yep. Agreed.
And you know what? If this application came before the board last winter or the winter before,
Been raised.
the question would have never come up.
Right.
It would have
Winter
never
last
come
year.
up.
And even this winter, you think about it, how much in 12 months a year, how much snow do you get? But it's really not the purview of this board unless they're looking for a variance that could affect where they're going to put the snow, you know, like a parking lot and there's no place to put it, whatever. But here, that wasn't an issue of how much buffer or whatever to really, I mean, you need to listen to them and all like that, but you can't really make a property owner change something because the guy next door is worried about snow getting thrown on his property.
We
Right.
shouldn't put a
Yeah, it's
deed
not
restriction
purview of
out
the
there
board.
to maintain the snow on their own property.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. And it depends on how much snow you get. I mean, you handled it well. And that's why I didn't get involved. But, you know, you cannot make decisions just because someone's worried about the snow going on their property.
Right.
And that was only item 6E of his list of concerns.
Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that after the fact. I mean, obviously it was handled well, but.
Okay. All right, good. All right, anybody else have anything they want to discuss?
All right.
Maureen, I also just want to thank you. You do such an amazing job.
Oh, please. Go on.
All right. Okay, everyone, be safe.
Mark didn't
Talk
get
next
comment.
month.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Have a good one. Enjoy the weekend.